that are so busy being important
Mm-hmm.
that they do harm.
Mm-hmm.
And you've probably seen some of them.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I have.
And so I think the first thing for me always is to figure out
Mm-hmm.
who I'm working with
Mm-hmm.
and what I need to do, which is to join with the client
Mm-hmm.
and and do the help them to figure out what they need to do or want to do,
Mm-hmm.
and not try to enforce them doing something they're not ready to do,
Mm-hmm.
because it never works. Because
Mm-hmm.
then they lie to you and don't want to do what you're asking
Mm-hmm.
them to do. So and that doesn't mean that you don't tell them the information,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't tell them that this is something that is important for you, to know about.
Mm-hmm.
But I never ever said to anybody, and you worked with me, so you know that I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I never told people you have to leave that relationship. You
Mm-hmm.
have to get out of that. You have to do this. You have to do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because the minute you start telling them those kinds of things, they start lying
Mm-hmm.
because they feel like they have to.
Yeah. Well, I have to admit, when I first met you, you gave me a lot of information to guide me on my path.
hmm I try to. I always think that people need to know
Mm-hmm.
what's going on, and then people are not stupid,
Mm-hmm.
and they're gonna make what the right decision for them, or not.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever it is, it's gonna be what they really need to do, or what they think they need to do.
So you think building the relationship between the counselor and the client is the most important?
I think it is. I think you have to have that. And it doesn't mean you don't tell them what you know is the truth.
Yeah.
But I think that the hardest thing that I ever used to do was watch people leave the alliance
Mm-hmm.
and know that they're going back,
Yeah.
and that you can't stop them. But if you stop them, they don't come back.
Mm-hmm.
But if you work with them and you say, if you need to come back,
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that you're right,
Yeah.
but that if you need to come back, you come on back.
Mm-hmm.
We are here, and most of them do come back, and sometimes they have to have longer
Mm-hmm.
periods of trying to see if you are telling them the truth.
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, we've helped people get their licenses. We help people get their go to school. We've helped people do a lot of things like that they needed to do or wanted to do, and I think all of that is important, because the more things that you have in your tool chest, the less it becomes everything's a hammer and becomes I can do all these other things. And so I think that that's the importance of skills. And I love teaching. I loved it, and I always loved it. But I also love counseling. So I think I never have worked a day in my life, because I loved everything I've ever done.
So what do you do if you worked with somebody and they went back and they never came back? I mean, how do you deal with wanting to help somebody and then you couldn't?
Well, then you hope that somebody else is going to help them. And I had a woman that she worked with us, but she really could not ever think she was a battered woman. And she went back, and I saw her 7 years later, because she called, and I went to meet with her, and she'd gotten divorced and moved on and done something, and he wouldn't leave her alone.
Wow.
And so she was calling us, and then she was telling me the things I'd already told her, because she said, well, remember when you said this, and you said that, and then that happened, and you said this, and you said that, and that happened. And I said, yeah, I do remember that, but, and she was like, even though she left and didn't come back to the shelter, then she came back when he, but not to go into the shelter, but just because, and then she was telling me all the stuff she remembered and why she got a divorce. So you never know when you put out the information if it's gonna
take root.
And but it usually does. You know, counselors are like hairstylists.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get a bad cut, and sometimes you don't.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Because different people respond differently to different kinds of
therapist.
Different kinds of treatment.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And not everybody is the right one to go to. You know, because I know that there were, I think there were probably people that came through the Alliance that maybe they would be great with one worker and not with another.
Mm-hmm.
And I think and if you really noticed, all of you had different skills and different kinds of things. And so some of you worked with one client better than others, because I always felt like I needed one client or one therapist that could just be in their rear end to do stuff, and then one therapist that they would talk to, and and then I was just kind of there too, but but mostly it was a lot of you guys that did the heavy lifting.
So you said you're doing battered groups now? So you're working with men that were having to take these courses? So you've been doing that for a while, haven't you? I bet you've seen a lot of interesting people coming in out the door.
I have a lot of them. And I talk about we do a 6-month program. And I talk about the first 13 weeks as just keeping them in their seat, because they don't like you, they don't like anything about you. They think you were one of those women that told their wives to leave them. And whatever. And so the first 13 weeks, you were going over all of this stuff and you're talking about the different things. And then finally, because I always had it so that people came and left whenever, so that there was always somebody there.
He was just starting.
Who was just starting, and somebody there who was in the middle of it and finally starting to understand, and somebody who was really getting ready to leave and really knew. And they all said, what do you do with somebody like that? They'd be talking about the new guy coming in. They don't understand anything, and they're really just, awful. And I'd say, yes, I know that. When people first come, and they'd say, was I like that? I'd say, yep, you were, but now you're not, because you have to figure out if what I was saying was truthful. And when you try it and it works, then you then you begin to believe that you can do this and it will work. But there's always that first few weeks, and it's still that way, that first few weeks that they come in. And my partner and I, we talk about that. Because we know that that they have to go through it. And usually, it's hard because they want to tear you down and tell you that no, that doesn't work, and why are you saying that? Because they don't want to be there, and they're being forced to come.
That's true.
And but then they when they finally reach that mark where they're now believing you, or starting to believe, they don't believe you 100%, but they're starting to believe you. Then the rest is so much better for them, and it's better for you too, because you can't have the whole group in there being against you, and the whole time against you. That's kind of like an alcohol class.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't want to be there. And thinks that they're not an alcoholic. But, and you have to convince them that they may not be an alcoholic, but they have a problem with drinking or drugs or whatever. And so, all of that is just part of the day.
Yeah. What do you do if you ever get really frustrated?
Sometimes, if you have somebody that is just never going to get it, and they don't want to get it, and they're not ever going to get it, then you have to, sometimes you have to say, I can't help you. And, you need to find another person that can do this.
So you've been working.
And I've referred people to other people, because if you can't work with them, then you need to let somebody else have a chance.
That is true. So you've had lots of experience through lots of different people.
And I don't. I think I've only maybe had, in my whole career, I maybe had 5 people that I just couldn't.
Oh, really?
That I really were just somebody that I just literally could not work with. And then some people quit too.
Yeah.
And, then they have to come back, and that's always hard. And they have to come back for them, not for me.
Yeah.
But,
so how long have you been practicing?
oh, I started when I was 2. No, I started really full-time counseling when I was here.
Oh, okay.
And before that, I did part-time counseling and full-time working with kids. And then I when I got here. I started working with kids and then was doing part-time counseling, and then I went from that to full-time counseling and part-time working with kids and families.
So this seems like many years.
Yeah, I've been doing this work since I was 20,
Really?
so not 20 some years old, probably
Wow.
about 28.
So you're just naturally drawn to helping people?
Huh?
So you're just naturally drawn to helping people?
I guess I am, and I think I'm also somebody who gets into people tell me stuff. I don't know why, but they do. And even when I was at the home after my stroke and stuff, I still had people, that work there or, talking to me about stuff. And I was, and I was, trying to help them to see other perspectives of things sometimes.
But you're still working with batterers. So nothing's slowing you down, huh? Still working on it.
Well, I am.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
Not doing
As
much.
active as you once were.
No, I realized after I had my stroke that I was doing a full-time job counseling, and then I was going to work teaching, and I was doing a couple of classes a semester. So, and that was interesting too, because I used to teach early childhood all the time, and then when I got here, I did early childhood at a couple places, but mostly I did that, and I taught the social science classes.
Wow.
So
You definitely had a lot of time in the field.
I did, and I did a lot of things. I don't do that much now, but I.
So what would you want to tell people that are just now entering the field? Do you have any advice for them?
Okay, my advice would be only if you love it. If you feel like that you could do this or something else, do something else.
Okay.
But if you really just love it and you love to work with kids or adults, then you need to you need to do what calls you. Because I think to teach or to do counseling, I think either one of those, you need to absolutely love it and want to do it, because otherwise it's just, it would be horrible to be listening to people talk all day and knowing that you can't, that you don't want to be there. You don't want to hear them telling you their problems, or, I had, when I was in school, and I had a woman that was in class with me, and she said, "Oh, I hate this stuff because I don't like, all they do is come in and complain about what's going on in their life."
Wow.
And I don't know why I need to listen to this. And I thought to myself, oh, you're going to be great.
Oof.
You will be the one that just says,
The one that will do harm.
And because I don't know very many people who go to a counselor and say, I am having such a wonderful life and I'm doing so well. And I just want to come and tell you that. Because, and I'll come next week and tell you again. Because I just want you to know that life is great. I don't know anybody that really has that load of people coming to them for counseling.
I'm probably going to guess 0.
I think you may be right. I never got those clients. But you do get clients that, you can help and they can move on and they can be happy and they can do whatever. And sometimes, you're going to have people that just get depressed and maybe they're not going to become that happy camper, but you can help them with their depression. You can either make them more depressed or less.
Well, the goal is not to make them more depressed.
So,
well, I can definitely say you gave me my interest in this field.
I did? Good.
Yes, when you accepted me as a volunteer when I was in high school and then you hired me.
I did.
So you've planted a seed in me and put me on this path, so I greatly appreciate that.
And some days you'll think, that Kaye, damn on her. And other times you'll say, I did you a good job.
You did me a good job. You gave me my interest in counseling, so, and I'd like to say thank you for that. Even though I'm going through all these classes and doing all the work.
Where are you going to school at?
Avila.
Oh, good. Avila's a great school.
Yep, that's where I'm going to school at, so hopefully soon I can start working with people and getting on the path and, doing what I love to do. Like you said, if you don't have a passion for it, you're just not going to be able to handle it.
I think you can't do it if you're, and there's always going to be that client that you, at night, you go home and you're still thinking about them and you're trying to think about, how you can help them. And we did a lot of different things to help. We put people on the bus. We put people on the plane. We put people on.
Bought them furniture. Yep, I can definitely say you've done a lot of good in this community. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because you look like you're getting tired. So thank you for everything. Thank you for pushing me in the field I'm going into and putting faith in me.
Okay, now tell me about what's going on with your family.
Okay, I'm going to stop this right here.